And we are live with episode 117 of the Starville Grow Show. Randy Brothers, my friend, what's going on today? How we doing?
What is up, Nick? Man, this little bit nostalgic, man. It's kind of like bringing me back to the beginning. We've been doing this for two
Yeah.
years now, and early on, it was just you and I just ranting, talking about business, talking about roofing, talking about just the random stuff, and then we started bringing on guests, and we're kind of bringing it back old school here. So I'm pretty excited just to kind of freelance and just have a good little convo, and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
bring some heat, bring some knowledge, and share some love, and hopefully let's get some interaction here today, huh?
100%. I'm
Get a
very
few
excited about
questions
this one,
live.
man.
Let's do this.
So we'll be talking about how to utilize strategic planning for scalability. So can you kind of just dumb down that topic for me to really explain what that exactly means, Randy?
It's hard to dumb it down too much, but really, strategic planning is starts with taking a look and reflecting on the past, like reflecting on looking back at your business and the decisions you've made, the success and the failures and the mistakes and the things that you've had. And it really starts with doing an analysis of your business. You
Mm-hmm.
know, sit down, take the time to actually analyze your business and do you want to not just look at like a jaded view either, like humble yourself and figure out like what went wrong, like what are you not good at, like what are some of
Mm-hmm.
the things that you really struggle and you don't do well in your business, and start writing that stuff down. And so really, I mean, for those of you who've never heard of this, something that I got introduced to shoot back in college, was a SWOT analysis. So we
Mm-hmm.
try to, and I kind of take it to a different level. Traditionally, it's an acronym for which is SWOT, and it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you can kind of just build like a little graph, a little chart, and start with strengths. Like label all the strengths you have. What are the things that you just dominate? Like, what are you really good at? What's kind of like your natural, like, go to within your business, and then write a list. Get as extensive as you possibly can. Write out that list. Next
Mm-hmm.
thing you do is look at weaknesses and what are the things you suck at? What are the things you struggle with? You're not efficient with that you definitely need improvement. What are you bad at? So then you write down that list, all the weaknesses, opportunities. What are opportunities for improvement, opportunities for growth and efficiency, overall opportunities for growth, market opportunities, industry opportunities. There's a lot of different things there, and then just build as long of an extensive list as you can of opportunities, and then threats. Look at threats. Like what are, obviously we're in a this whole year. You could put 2020. There's your threat. Like
Yeah, no kidding.
every way you turn, every which way you turn this year, there's just more and more challenges. For
Mm-hmm.
me as like, I guess you could say like a hardcore entrepreneur. Like I love a challenge. I love like I don't do well in comfort. I don't do well when like things
Isn't
are
that
going
crazy how that
things are
works?
going like really well. I'm like,
Yeah.
something's wrong here. I need a
Yeah,
challenge. I need
you're feeling like
fix.
anxious almost sometime, right? You're like, I don't
Yeah.
know what to do right now. This doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem right.
It's funny. One of the running jokes in my office is like, my job in the business is to break things. Like
Yeah.
their job, my leadership team, my management, their job is to fix process, build process, create systems and processes. My job as a visionary is to break those processes and break the systems and figure out what where the holes are, and then figure out how to make them not work right. That way we just get better and get better and get better. So it's kind of a funny
So
ongoing joke.
how are you doing that? Because I do like that. I completely agree with that point of view where you're coming in here and you're almost trying to break the system, break the processes. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to find issues that you can improve on, right?
Yeah.
So how are you going about that in an effective way? Because I think that's something a lot of other business leaders could kind of dive into that mindset.
I don't know if there's really much. It's not really a set way of doing that. It's just looking at
Mm-hmm.
every little thing and trying to find ways to find something wrong, or find a hole, or find a way to make that system, more efficient. Like what can I do? You look at a salt. What's the age old thing? Look at a salt shaker. You look at it like, okay, great. It pours salt. How can I look at this from a objective? How can I make this salt shaker better?
Mm-hmm.
Can we make it taller? Can we make it wider? Can we make the holes in it bigger? Can we make them smaller? Like, do we add rice in it if you're in a humid area? Like, that's how I look at things, is like, how do I make this salt shaker more efficient or better or not, and just find the broken pieces within the system, So there's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily intentionality. I think it's just, it goes to organic entrepreneurship. You're a visionary, you're an entrepreneur. You just got to look at everything from a perspective of, how do I think outside the box and improve this process, or improve whatever it is I'm trying to improve on. Or if it doesn't exist, let's create a process,
Mm-hmm.
create something new.
What's
But
a good way to kind of, give your advice or your new ideas or strategies without, the person who's running that section of the business feeling like you're kind of criticizing them? Is it kind of the way that you go about it? Is it kind of the relationship that you built with this person, or how do you go about that?
yeah, great question, man. Because it's easy for an entrepreneur to be kind of narcissistic and like, it's my way or the highway or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
what I've really learned is it's got to be a team approach. Like, you've got to empower the people around you, the people that are helping implement these things, and you got to be able to humble yourself and let them give you constructive criticism. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, sure, I'm the visionary or idea guy for my business, but 1 out of 5 ideas is good. The rest of them are kind of laughable and ridiculous, right? I
Yeah,
have to have thick enough skin to be able to present an idea and have my leadership team flip the script and poke holes in that idea.
100%.
Hey, this isn't going to work for this reason, or give their honest feedback. And I have to actually listen to that and take heed to that, and not just say do it or else, right? There's certain times
100%.
where I may feel really strongly about something, and I'm kind of hard-headed in a way that I'm like, well, I'm going to try this regardless. But there's also times where I'm like, you know what? You're right. Let's not waste our time, money, and energy on that, because maybe it's not the best idea out there. So, trusting of the people around you, surrounding yourself, that's the key. Surround yourself by people that you value their opinion and that are sharp. Like, one of the most important lessons I ever learned, and it's so simple, but it's so hard for so many of us hard-headed, type A, narcissistic entrepreneurs right here, like,
Mm-hmm.
to grasp, is find people better than you, smarter than you, sharper than you. And then you just got to maintain a high level of work ethic and a high level of energy to make sure that they're all working to their full potential as well. But if you can surround yourself with people that are better than you, man, I'm telling you, entrepreneurship becomes a lot easier.
100%.
So
So
go back. Let me finish up that
the SWOT.
first little thought there. That the SWOT. So the
Mm-hmm.
the the first T is threats, right? But I like to take that to another level and look at the industry as a whole. Look at your market as a whole. And I do 2 T's now, and it's trends. So ask yourself, when you're doing this analysis, what's the industry? What are some market trends that you may be aware of in the industry? Look on social media, look online, YouTube. I mean, the news, like, what is going on in and around? Like, take a step back and look around your surroundings from a business lens, and try to figure out, what are some trends that are happening that I need to be aware of in order to try to stay ahead and or maneuver or move my business in a direction that can ride a trend that's coming up, right? So that was very intriguing, because that was one of the biggest causes to one of my biggest failures, is
Mm-hmm.
not paying attention. I was so in my business, not working on my business. I was so narrowly focused on all the crap I had to do today, that I wasn't paying attention to the market around me. And what was going on is, the market around me was crashing. Banks were stopping lending. The mortgage crisis was happening. The building, like, a bunch of people were building, it ceased, it stopped. Yet here I am, focused on the one project that I have to finish, not thinking, hey, what's going on in the industry? What pivots and adjustments do I need to make to my business in order to survive, right? So I learned
Mm-hmm.
that lesson early on in in business, and I'm very grateful for that, because here we are. That was the Great Recession, right? The 2006, 7, 8, 9. I think you were still like, in your mom's womb. We're still like
Pretty close.
in diapers.
No, I just got my driver's license.
and and I learned so much during that time that now here we are in 2020, where COVID, we're a pandemic, and so many businesses are really having to challenge or struggle or downsize or do all these things. I was able to take some of those things I learned and apply those for the last 10 years with my business, which set
Hmm.
in a place where I was able to pivot and make adjustments and maneuver as the market trends around me were changing, right?
Hmm.
Not only like in our market, we're in roofing, right? In our market, not only did we have to deal with COVID, which shut things down and people stopped spending money, they're like all freaking out, not wanting to, obviously spend a lot of money on a roof, so that obviously affected things. And then also you have a market in our market that's normally normally there's one of the biggest hail markets in the country, and we've had no hail. So those two
Yeah.
things, man, you look at that from an outsider's perspective, it's like, holy crap, that's
So last
devastating.
year that would have been a threat, right? That would have been in your threat section, right? Is the weather.
Absolutely. It's a threat. And
Hmm.
then now you look at it as a trend, and what can you do to pivot? Right. So it's like, okay, well, we know we're not gonna we've had these plans in place. We've been working on diversifying our business model. From my perspective, I go into every single year saying we're not going to get hail. What happens if we don't get hail? What are we going to do as a business? How are we going to survive?
Hmm.
Every year. And then we get hail and it's great, right? This is the year that it finally happened. We didn't get hail, but we were already planning for years. How do we do that? Coatings, service work, commercial work, retail work, and the market, the real estate market is still thriving in Colorado, right? So now we've pivoted and we're putting a lot more energy into those relationships and trying to generate business through real estate transactions and retail roofing versus insurance roofing. It's just one of those things
Hmm.
that you just learn as an entrepreneur. And it's great because I get to share and work on these sort of strategies with all my clients. As many of you know, I'm a business coach, and I'm passionate about coaching and mentoring and helping other contractors. And we work on this stuff. It's like, how do we thrive and survive and thrive when the market is not conducive and not easy, right? And that's where we
Hmm.
go back to this whole purebred entrepreneur thing where I was talking about earlier, how like I love that stuff. I love the challenge. Maybe I know I'm wired weird, right? But I like the challenge of having to really dig deep and flex that entrepreneurship muscle in my brain to think outside the box and come up with creative ways to build and grow businesses. And you've done the same thing. I mean, look at the consulting side of our roofing company, we're down drastically. We're surviving. We're doing just fine. We're projectable profits, the cash flow, the whole thing's we're in really good shape from that perspective. But we were on like a major upward growth trajectory, and that definitely has halted. And we're going to do a lot less numbers than we had over the last couple of years, which it is what it is. However, consulting in your business with the marketing and some of the other things that I've worked on, those are like thriving because of
Hmm.
the COVID situation. So that's just entrepreneurship is you got to kind of be willing to pivot and be willing to make those adjustments and never put all your eggs in one basket.
Hmm. So what time of year are you filling out this SWOT analysis, and then how often are you reflecting back on it as the year goes on?
So it depends, because when you do it your first time, do it right now, right? Um, I like to do it at the very least annually. But it's not, we've done with our business is we do like an annual strategic planning event.
Hmm.
This is also what we do with our mastermind when we do it with other contractors. And actually, well, I'm looking at March to do another mastermind this year, and we're going to bring in,
Awesome.
maybe like 30 companies and do like a really intense 3-day strategic planning event. But we do this internally where we'll take an entire day off-site, out of the office, and we break the company down into all the different departments, and they all do their own SWOT analysis for their department. And then we'll even do SWOT analysis for an individual. So starting off, you may only have 1 or 2 employees or just be kind of trying to build your business. Do this yourself. Do it from a business perspective as a whole. So our leadership team will do an analysis from our perspective as the business. And then what we'll
Mm-hmm.
do is have all the leaders, all the managers of all the departments do an analysis for their department. And then we'll break it down all the way to a micro level and have people do an analysis on themselves, and then couple that with personality assessments and personality tests and stuff like that. We're getting high level here. This is
Mm-hmm.
pretty high level corporate type stuff, but why not apply some of these proven mechanisms that we find in corporate America and apply them to the roofing space to just make ourselves that much better? Doing these
Mm-hmm.
things for the last 3, 4, 5 years has just really catapulted all the individual, the departments, and everybody's role within the business.
So that's great, right? So you do the SWOT analysis, you really figure out your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, right? You get it all dialed in, right? Now, my feelings is that some people probably put this away and never look back at it. How often should they be reflecting back on this to make sure that they're kind of staying on track with everything?
At least quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterly is good. But here's the thing. There's another step involved here. So you do this analysis, and then what you're going to do is look at that analysis as a reference to create your action list. And you create this action list. It can be 30 items, all these different things I want to do and I want to build within my business. And then what you want to do is, in the words of the Navy SEAL what am I thinking? That wrote Extreme Ownership. Prioritize and execute, right? And it's important, like, you got this huge list of things. It's going to be overwhelming. You do this analysis, you're probably going to be like, man, I suck at a lot of things, or I'm good at something, whatever. It's just part of
Right.
the process. And then you look at those. Now you want to create an action list. These are all the things I
Mm-hmm.
want to improve and I want to fix within my business. And then you prioritize and execute.
Gotcha.
Prioritize. This single thing is the absolute most important thing that's going to help benefit my business right now. I'm going to make that my priority, and I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to build it. I'm going to focus on the process until it's right. And then I'm going to pick the next one. And then I'm going to pick the next one. And then I'm going to pick the next one. And just
Mm-hmm.
work through this. And then you get into a rhythm where you're leveraging this analysis and this list of action items, and you're creating goals, and you're setting goals, and you're achieving goals. And that's like the I'm just pretty much giving a baseline of how I run my business and how I coach and work with all my clients. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the
100%.
process that we're going to go through, is putting tangible, actionable items in place and figuring out which one of those are going to directly benefit your business the most right here, right now, and prioritize and execute. Right. Looks like we have
Mm-hmm.
questions. We do have I don't know, for raise of hand, I want to get some comments going. Who is going to RoofCon this year? I'm excited. I've been asked to be one of the keynote speakers. I'm pretty stoked about that. Me and John Dyer going at the end, after all these
What are you
other
talking about?
speakers. Kind of a little bit about what we're talking about today, but implementation.
Implementation.
We're
Gotcha.
gonna everybody's teaching a lot of different things, so many different valuable things, and then we're gonna try to bring it all home on sharing strategies on how to take what you learn and implement those. And there's a probably good chance I'll be talking about this: action list, prioritize, and execute.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's the top
100%.
priority? Execute it. And it's good buzzwords, right? But the key is, you gotta have the right people in place to help you execute, to help you implement the things that you're analyzing and you're putting on there. But we do have a
Mm-hmm.
question from Caesar. Do you believe in a sweet spot in staying small, or is it always grow? I think that is a fantastic question, and there's not a right or wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think really what it all boils down to is what your end game is. What is, as Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind, right? One of the 7 habits of highly effective people. What is your end game? Okay, if your goal in life is to, work less and spend a ton of time traveling and family and all this stuff, then maybe you want to stay small and be what we call lean and mean.
Mm-hmm.
Very low overhead. You know what your you know what your business capacity is, and you figure out what that sweet spot is. Is it take 3 people, 5 people, 10 people, 2 people? Figure out what that is, and figure out what your objective is. Like, why did you start a business in the first place? Did you start a
Mm-hmm.
business make $100 million, or did you start a business to have freedom to do what you want when you want, take care of your family, and make sure your bills are taken care of as well? Figure
Mm-hmm.
out those sort of things. You got to ask yourself that first.
Reverse
And
engineer it.
yeah, and I think there is, some validity in you want to always grow, right? And not necessarily, it's not just extreme growth of the revenue, right? You can always be growing, in a sense, growing as a leader, growing as a human, growing your bottom line, your profitability, and revenue. You can grow your job size. There's a lot of things you can always focus on. What's the age old saying in business? If you're not growing, you're losing, or you're failing, or you're shrinking. So you got to grow at all times, but you want to look at growth and from a different lens, not just
Mm-hmm.
from the arbitrary grow my top line revenue. That's growth. There's a lot of other ways to grow your business than just put more jobs on the board. You can grow in a number of different areas.
How else do you see growth other than revenue?
Leadership, personality,
Mm-hmm.
personal growth. But for me, like what I've learned in my career and through coaching, all the things I've done, I was of the mindset of, man, I want to build this huge company and do $100 million and all this stuff. But through my own coaches and mentors that I work with, I learned really what the importance is of a concept called diminishing returns. And what that is there's a point where your business growth and your overhead growth are not are kind of syncing together, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The percentage of overhead that it costs you to run your business versus the growth or the revenue that you're growing your business is going in reverse or coming together. So you're actually not growing your bottom line. So you're actually diminishing your margin by growing your business.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for
Which you
instance,
have to do though, right?
you don't like
Yeah.
that's that I love this question because it's the sweet spot. Okay. You got
Mm-hmm.
to figure out how many projects can I do at what job size, at what margin, with what capacity of human capital, how many people can I do that, and to figure out what that sweet spot is. I know that's challenging, right? But so
Mm-hmm.
for instance, if you're only doing 100 roofs and you have 10 people on staff to do 100 roofs, you're way too top heavy. Your overhead is too much. On the flip side, if you have 10 people on staff and you're doing 1,000 roofs, they're all pulling their hair out, acting like crazy, not being able to get anything done, right? So that
Yeah.
and that balance of what the capacity is, and we've built a lot of this stuff, and we've created examples of organizational charts and what they should look like. Departments, your residential production department, how many people in the department, how many people in the field, how many salespeople, how many office people, all the things you need to do a large volume as well and still maintain a great profit margin, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so hung up on growth and revenue growth, revenue growth. Let's focus on margin and efficiency. How do we ensure that we're actually making money at the end of the day? So many roofers get into the business because it's such a low barrier to entry. You can start a roofing company with a ladder and a truck and a business card, right? And we don't have any sort of formal business training, and we get ourselves in a situation where we're like, man, we're putting up big numbers, millions of dollars, and then at the end of the day, there's nothing left over, and you don't know where it all went because we're
Mm-hmm.
not paying attention to the bottom line. We're not paying attention to the profitability of the business.
Mm-hmm. So, but if you're having Jurassic growth, it's only makes sense that your margins are going to be going down, right? For the most part, if you're trying to handle that kind of growth,
To an
or not
extent,
necessarily. Mm-hmm.
again, we find that sweet spot, but to an extent, yes. So if you're intentionally trying to grow your business, you're there's a rule in business that you kind of want to have. And I actually, when I was really scaling my business, I had more people than I needed. To this day, I still probably have more people than we technically need, but we are trying to grow our business. We're still in growth mode, trying to grow the different areas of our business. It's a lot easier to shuffle people and put people in the right seats on the bus if you have enough people. So if you grow your business and you don't have people and you're just trying to fill holes and plug holes with just whoever has a pulse and is
Mm-hmm.
available, you're setting yourself up for a lot of challenges. If you kind of invest in really good people and have maybe one extra person than you really need, you
Yep.
go into that person and then you figure out what their capacity is, and then you're able to kind of shuffle the deck and put people in positions within the company that naturally fit their strengths, if you will.
That's interesting too, because I think what happens, a lot of people have a drastic increase in revenue, and then they try to get the people afterwards. So you're almost saying, hey, it's okay to have maybe an extra person, right? And then that way you're ready for the growth. So almost prepare for the growth in a way. You're saying,
Yeah,
cool. I like it.
I
All
mean,
right.
I work with so many. There's a lot of people who start their business and they're running everything from the truck office. They're just 80 hours with their hair on fire, and they're scared or they're intimidated with hiring somebody. I can't
Yep.
afford to hire somebody.
Yep.
Like, that's not an entrepreneur mindset, right? That's a worker mindset. And the entrepreneur mindset sees that vision and sees the target up there. Like, I can get my business to this place and I'm willing to make sacrifices now and invest now to get to that place. So if you
Yep.
really envision that, like for instance, in our case, I hired I hired people to run the office before I ever even had sold a roof. I believe that much that if I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to grow my business fast and get to that 1, 3, $5 million mark, I knew I needed people, and I knew that I couldn't do it all myself. So I just invested in those people ahead of time.
Yep.
And
I
I
like
took on
that.
the pressure of, hey, I got to go sell and I got to make this happen to afford this person versus I got to go build the business first and then plug the people in. It's a different mindset.
Exactly.
But for me as an entrepreneur, I feel like you can kind of, like, I work almost better and more intentionally. Like, I'm more focused when I know I have something else or some other person or something else that I have to pay for or take care of or that sort of thing. Right? When you
Mm-hmm.
just take care of yourself, it's easy to be like, well, mom, it is what it is. I got enough money in the bank. I'm not worrying about other people's payroll. So I'm not going to be working smarter. I'm just going to wake up and light my hair on fire and keep running. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, hey, in my case, it was my mom. I hired my mom. It was, I hired her and I was like, I knew that I had to make sure that she was taken care of and that she had a paycheck.
Yep.
So that gave me an extra gear as an entrepreneur, and I still operate that way to this day.
Mm-hmm. We got another good question here too. So we got Mark. Overcapacity. I've definitely heard that before. What challenges do most businesses see if they run with an undercapacity of people? So if they don't have enough people, I guess, what issues
Mark
they're running into?
McKee, my dude, man, I've
Mm-hmm.
known him for a long time. Very sharp guy.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
cool.
so when it comes to running under capacity of people, you tend to make mistakes by putting people in the wrong positions. So what I've seen so much and done this myself is like, okay, we're growing fast and I don't have enough people. So we tend to not have a really solid hiring, onboarding, training process in place. We just want the path of least resistance. We want to plug that hole as fast as we can. So the first person that has a pulse that's willing to come work with us, regardless of their skill set, we just throw people at the problem and hoping that the problem solves itself. What happens is
Mm-hmm.
grow the business, and then you have just a hodgepodge of people with no direction. Nobody's in their lane. Nobody knows exactly what their roles are. So this is another thing, for that I've really focused on with my clients and when we're building businesses, is really identifying everybody in their organization's roles and responsibilities, starting with leadership.
Mm-hmm.
You have to clearly identify your role, or analyze your strengths and identify a role that you want to, or you feel is going to be the most important for your business. And then we work towards getting you into that role, if that makes sense. Because you can't just flip a switch and all of a sudden be only working in one lane when you're used to doing everything in your business. So it's a
Exactly.
step-by-step process, but very, very important that you have the right people in the right seats. And when you're running at, you're growing and you're running under capacity of people, you tend to, that's the first thing that tends to kind of go away.
Yeah, and as people are jumping on here too, I mean, I'm guessing kind of people are getting done with their work day, whatnot, maybe just getting home from work. So I hope everybody had a good day. Remember, we are giving away free RoofCon tickets, right? So, Randy, do you want to discuss that quick? I know we're giving it to the best question. I thought Caesar's question was actually amazing, so I already reached out to him, said that he's getting a free ticket from us. Do we have another one available too, or is it just one?
We have 2 tickets available tonight, and then we'll have 2 more next week as well. I guess I gave that away, but yeah. So
Yeah.
let's have some more interaction. Throw some questions out there. Caesar had a great question. My man Nathan, throw a good question in there. He's wanting to go to RoofCon as well. We're really looking forward to this show. It's a new, I want to say new, but like they're really focused on bringing super high value, high integrity people, putting all of them in one place to just be focused on growth. This is not a big party, right? It's too many roofing conferences are just a big party. This is not a party. This is a place to go connect with like-minded individuals, learn from some of the sharpest, most influential minds in the industry, and take away a ton of valuable information to drastically grow and improve your business, for the long term. So highly recommend RoofCon. And for those of you who you are going to watch this later and not on the live or listening to the podcast, if you are interested in RoofCon, you can just go to the RoofCon website and get your tickets there and input the promo code Start Build Grow, and it'll get you a discount on your tickets to RoofCon. So we got one
Perfect.
of them already given away to Caesar, and this is probably also a great time. We really appreciate it, man. We're what episode is this?
117, baby.
117. 2 years
Yep.
into this, and we're still going strong. We have in the production. Nick and his team do a great job producing this, putting it out on the podcast, making the videos, and doing all the things. It would not be possible without our sponsors. So we definitely want to give a shout out to our sponsors, starting with our longtime sponsor, Job Nimbus, one of the top CRM customer relationship management software in the industry, fully customizable. As you're customizing, you're growing, you're systemizing your business. I've talked a lot today about different departments. If you really want to build, in my mind, I feel like a true roofing company has a residential division, retail, service, and commercial. Like all those, you need to be able to do all of them, but they all have different workflows. They all have different cycles and processes, and you need a great tool that you can customize and build to be able to fill all those different cycles that each one of those verticals have. Job Nimbus is the one. That's what we use, and that's what we've used to help scale our business up. And then also we had a great time with with our private group. We do weekly group calls with the Roofing Academy, and I brought Mike with 60/60 appraisals on to do an educational piece on
Nice.
appraisals. The more and more we're fighting with insurance companies, the more and more we get to impasses. We get to a place where we're like, we feel it needs to be this. The insurance carrier says no, we don't feel that. Who's right, who's wrong? Appraisal process. You can invoke appraisal and have a third party mediator come in and give you, the roofer, a very fair deal and a fair shake at getting what you need and deserve as a roofing contractor. So the more we have to fight the big bad wolf of the insurance carrier, it's definitely not a bad idea to, when you get to that impasse and when you need that help, is to check out the appraisal process. And the team over at 60/60 Appraisals are awesome, and you can find them at 6060group.com. And I'm going to tee it up for you for the last one, my friend.
Boss Up Solutions, man. We had just on Latif last week on the show, right? And one of the biggest things when we're talking about scalability, man, is delegation, right? Isn't that one of the most important things for a leader, to make sure they can delegate as they scale?
Yeah. Delegate, automate. It's so hard.
And
We talked about
optimize,
this
right?
earlier of that I think 8 out of 10 roofing contractors are less than 3 employees. Right. So you're running a business, you're driving around in your truck, you're answering your phone, you're trying to do all the things, sales, writing checks, production, the whole 9 yards. the best way to bridge that gap to get yourself to the next level is to hire an assistant, hire an admin. And why not hire one that already has experience working the CRMs, working with all the common industry CRMs, especially Job Nimbus, one that has experience with insurance, that has experience with supplementing, that has experience with invoicing and managing calendars, and you just plug and play at a fraction of the cost of what it costs to hire someone directly. So definitely give the girls and the team at Boss Up Solutions a call at bossupsolutions.com.
So we got some people that tuning in here. We got Lee Fowler, man. How you been, Lee? He says, love the questions and answers. Very relatable. Lee, if you got a question, man, hit us up. Let us know. We got Matt Behrens going on. He says, doing fantastic, brother. Keep him busy out there. And he's giving a shout out to our sponsor. He says, Mike Lindbergh at 6060 is awesome. So there it is right there, man.
Yeah.
So what
do we see Matt, man? Matt's been on. He's with C3 Group. We'll give him a shout out as well. They do public adjusting and handle large losses. So they work with appraisals, when they get to an impasse as well. It happens. So yeah.
Exactly.
Shout out to Mike and the team at 6060.
So with the strategic planning, I've been lucky enough to go through it with you as well for my marketing company. And it's been an awesome breakdown, really helped me understand and evaluate where we're at right now. The second portion of the strategic planning really goes into vision, foundation, right? Annual goals, right? Quarterly goals. Can you kind of explain that section now for us and kind of how people can go about that?
Absolutely. And it's perfect because Aubrey just threw a question perfectly related to your question. And he says, in strategic planning, do you shoot for the moon or be conservative with your forecasting and goal setting? Coach me.
Great question.
Okay. The answer is both. So part of what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge you to think big. I'm going to challenge you to think, what's that big goal, that 5 to 10 year like monster goal? Like if all the stars aligned, what could happen, right? Put that goal out there. You don't want to shoot yourself too short. What's that saying? If you shoot for the moon, or shoot for the stars, you might just hit the moon. So I do like the idea of have that big goal. Like what's that big vision out there? But then you want to kind of come back to reality and dissect that and break it down into smaller chunks of realistic goals. But one of the things about goal setting is, and I do goal setting with my team, with you, with everybody I work with, goals is so important. It's a huge valuable component. I'm always, that's a major focus on what we do. And my rule is if you're, and I have kind of a little, little measuring tool of, green means you nailed the goal. Orange means you got more than half of it. You're working towards it. Things are happening. Red means you bombed, you failed, you didn't get your goal, right? So the idea is if you're always hitting your goals or consistently hitting your goals, you're not challenging yourself enough. That doesn't mean you're a rock star. It doesn't mean you're just some badass that just kicks butt. No, you're not pushing hard enough. You're not challenging yourself enough. On the flip side, if you never hit your goals, you're hitting reds all the time, means you're just out in the stars and you're firing for too big, too hard of goals, and you're not hitting them. So what I want to see with my clients is I want to see a mixture. I want to see a balance. Sure, some weeks you're going to have a good week. You're going to set a goal. You're going to knock that goal out of the park. Other weeks you're going to be like, man, I set this, I wanted to achieve this, and I didn't get there. Okay, let's analyze that. Let's do what we got to do to get there next week or in the next session or whatever. So that's the key there, I think, is setting realistic goals, but pushing the boundary a little bit. Right. So don't set something that you can hit consistently. Know what you hit consistently and push a little bit harder to make yourself work that much harder when you're setting goals.
Well, then there's two more sections of it too that go into the vision and foundation, right? So it goes kind of like what's your why and your brand promise, and then your core values. Do you want to just hit on that a little bit too, so people kind of understand the importance of that?
That is the foundation, right? And for a great recommended read out there, or YouTube, if you want to check it out, you read the book. It's called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. He's done a number of TED Talks and YouTube like speeches. Great speaker, world-renowned speaker at this point. And he talks about like purpose and empathy and what's your why. And that book really resonated with me and kind of helped me really establish this foundation. But the key is you just got to sit down and look in the mirror and ask yourself why. Why are you starting a business? Why do you work for the company you work for? Why do you do what you do? Why do you wake up every single day and work hard or not work hard? And kind of and keep asking yourself that question until you start to get some realistic answers. You know, a lot of people, you know, you hear the story. I just read a book from a friend of mine, Dominic Rubino, who's a coach as well in the contracting space. He's actually just getting ready to launch a book, and he gives this example of two different people. One of them, you know, when you're asking this, going through this concept of what's your why, you know, one entrepreneur says, I want a bigger boat and a bigger house, and I want, you know, I want all these things, right? I want more money, bigger boat, bigger house. And he asked the other person, another entrepreneur, what's your why is, and then that person goes and proceeds to tell a story about how their grandmother was an immigrant that is now in a home and in a shared living space and one of 5 or 6 different people in the same room, and he wants to be able to work hard to provide a better living space for his family.
Yeah,
Which person do you want to work for?
exactly.
Which person do you want to anchor to and work with? And you know, if you're an employee, which entrepreneur do you want to work for? If you're a business coach, which entrepreneur do you want to work for? You want to work for somebody who's just self-fulfilling? You want to work with somebody who has empathy for others? So
Mm-hmm.
dig deep and figure out what your true why is, and like why on a deep level as to what your why is within business and as a leader and as an entrepreneur. And then,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you look at, you know, if you analyze super successful large companies, large organizations, look at the Apples of the world, the Southwest Airlines, the Chick-fil-A's, these major corporations that just have like waiting lists of people to come work for them. One of the common themes you'll find is that they're all built and they all have a set of core values.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think it starts with that why, understanding that why, and then to take that to another level is establish core values for your business. So what if
Yep.
you're only 1 or 2 people? What are those values? What are the 4 to 7 core things that make your business run? Because what you're going to find is that as you grow your business and as you hire and develop and train leaders within your business, you have to give up control. You have to empower those people to start making decisions on behalf of your business. That's hard to do.
Right.
I'm an entrepreneur. I want to grow my business, but I want control. I have to find people and trust them and empower them to make decisions on behalf of me and on behalf of my business. You can have growth or you can have control. You can't have both.
Yep.
And I know there's somebody out there that's listening to this and it's resonating with them. They're like, damn, that sucks because that's why I can't grow because I want to control everything. How do you bridge that gap? How do you get to a place, especially as most of us run into situations where we get ripped off, somebody, you know, is unscrupulous or doing bad things, and we had this bad taste, and then we want to have more and more control and less trust, right? That's hard to do. But how do you bridge that gap? One, do a great job hiring people based on character. But two, you establish a set of core values. You make that a foundation of your business. And what happens is you can empower your leadership team to then make decisions based on that set of core values.
Yep.
If that's making sense, is that resonating? So, my team, you run a division, you run a department. Are you going to call me every time you have a problem or every time you have a challenging situation? Or are you going to make a decision and lean on, hey, you know, does this decision fit within the core values of our company? If it does, my leadership team knows that I'm going to support them. Even if the decision is wrong, they made a decision based on those core values, and I'm going to support them as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
That's the importance of setting a great foundation for your business. A lot of people skip this step. I skip this step, and it's something that's very, very important. As you know, I've done it with you, all my clients. That's one of the things we work on. So we got to get this foundation set. We got to figure out what your bigger purpose is. It's your purpose is not just to make money and build roofs.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. If it is, then good for you. But that's not. I don't believe that that's true. I think people have
Mm-hmm.
a much deeper intrinsic value as to why they do what they do.
And you talk a lot about empowering people, almost having a bunch of, what do you call it again? Entrepreneurs, like where pretty much
Entrepreneur,
everybody,
yeah.
entrepreneurs, right? Where people in your company are acting as if they have their own little part of their business, running their own little business inside of your business, correct? And
Well, they're contributing to the overall growth of the business from a free perspective. Like they can have their own ideas. They can come to the leader and say, hey, I have an idea for this. They're not just going to get shot down every 2 seconds, right? They're empowered to contribute to the overall well-being and growth of the business.
But what I think is, in order to be able to give people that power, right? You have to identify their roles and their responsibilities and the KPIs to kind of grade how they're performing, right? Now, do you think roofing contractors are kind of doing this already in terms of really identifying, if they bring somebody on as a new employee, their responsibilities, and giving these people the correct KPIs to understand, hey, this is what you're responsible for, and this is how we kind of grade it? Or do you think that they're not giving that to their people on the front end sometimes?
Well, I think the answer is pretty glaring, is that people don't do that. Right? It's natural. And it's not the fault, right? It's not people don't need to be blamed. It's not putting blame on anybody. It's just, we don't know what we don't know. And if we've been especially in our business, right? It's archaic, and we all have these crazy backgrounds. We somehow stumble into roofing, and here we are. It's now a lifestyle, right? We come in from so many different backgrounds, but so few of us ever had any sort of strategic or intentional onboarding or training or hiring process that we don't know how to build or how to incorporate that within our own business as we're trying to grow. Make sense? So we got to reach outside in other markets and other industries and historical corporations or whatever, and think about, and a lot of us even, have barely even had real jobs. Like, we've been in roofing our whole life, but then we start a business. So we've never even had an onboarding process. We've never had a vetting process of hiring somebody. We've never had to sit through a formal interview or conduct a formal interview with multiple people to hire one, right? And that, so yeah, people aren't doing it, but the people that are succeeding. It's a game-changing thing. There's two things, man. Here, we're gonna wrap this up, and I'm gonna jump out ahead of you because you're getting ready to ask me for some profound, stuff here. I've been trying to just fire off today, but there's two things that I think, I work with companies that are just getting started, all the way well up over $20 million, right? And hundreds of different people, and I'm always learning, always taking things in. And there's three things that separate the 8-figure companies from the companies that just flounder up and down and can't quite get over that hump. One of them is their handoff process, the process from sales to production. They have a very sophisticated, dialed-in process where the salespeople are held accountable. They know their role. They've been trained. They know what they're doing. They know how to take that project and hand it over to production in order for production to execute and get it done. That's number one. Number two, they have a very good hiring, onboarding, and training process. They're able to hire people, train people, and onboard them, put them in a role, and away they go. Right. So those are two of the key elements there. And I'm drawing a blank now. I was on a rant here going with
Randy was rolling.
Those are the two keys. Is that handoff process and the hiring and onboarding process are probably two of the most important things that I see large successful companies incorporate. And the third is they all have a leadership team. There's not one person running it all. They have a team of people that all contribute on a leadership level, and they know they're all highly defined with what their roles are. And they all contribute. They come together as a team, and they lead, as a team. So that team leadership approach, you're not going to be able to do it yourself. You have to find other leaders. You have to help encourage other people to become great leaders, all the while becoming a leader yourself. And those are the elements that it's going to take to grow and scale an 8-figure roofing business.
Absolutely, my friend. Well said, dude. Well said. Well, what do you think? I mean, we had the last thing that we had on the notes for the topic was financials and budgeting. Do you want to dive into that a little bit, or do you think we just close it out and bring that in for another episode?
Let's leave a hanger there. Financials, budgeting.
Leave it
So
hanging.
you're listening to this. Check it out. I know we're on time. We're towards the end of our time. You know, for those of you who are interested in this topic, the topic that we've talked about, strategic planning, budgeting, financials, all these things, I'd love to get on a call with you. I'd love to chat with you. If you want to do that, feel free to reach out to me. You can message me directly, or you can check us out at theroofingacademy.com, and you can book a call directly with me. I don't have a big sales team. I'm a small one person. I pride myself on being there and interacting and having a relationship with every one of my members. And I'll give you guys a free coaching call and get on a call with me. And I'd love to carry on this conversation and see what I can to help you take your business to the next level.
Love it. We got a couple people on here I just want to recognize quick. Rachel Iverson, always on. Great listener. We appreciate the support over at SFY. Make sure you're checking them out. Reach out to Rachel. And then we also had Julio Castillo. He jumped in. I didn't even know he was around anymore, man. I haven't talked to him in a while. I haven't seen him in a
He's
while.
too busy crushing it, scaling his business up.
Too busy scaling that business. So good to see him tune in. So we appreciate you guys hopping in. Randy, what do you think? Do I hit you with another golden nugget to end this thing? I mean, I know it's just been you today, but we've done it so many times now.
Man,
I feel like it's tradition.
we just brought it home, man. Let's give away another ticket.
Give away
I
another
think
ticket for the golden nugget. Hey, go to RoofCon. Maybe that's the golden
yeah,
nugget.
let's go to
Go
RoofCon
network.
and get a whole bunch of golden nuggets. So we're gonna fire up. Well, I'm gonna throw my man Nate Ellis a ticket for his. He's the longtime viewer, listener, friend of mine, been a member for a while. Like let's send. We're gonna send Nate Ellis to RoofCon, and we're gonna send Caesar to RoofCon as well. So make sure you guys connect directly with Nick, and we will send you an email with the link to get you those tickets.
Perfect. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 117 of the Start Build Grow Show. We'll be back next week at the same time, right? 4 p.m. Mountain Time. We'll see you guys next week.
Take care, everybody. God bless.